Well, welcome everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and get started because it's 3 on the nose. I think I know everybody here. I neglect to introduce myself sometimes. I'm Kathy Zarling, and I'm one of your 2 parish nurses here at Redeemer. And this series of Caring Connections that we hold each month, September through May, is supported by the Redeemer Health Cabinet. And so we're so glad, and it's also on Zoom. So Karen Meyer's with us on Zoom today. She can't see you, but she can hear the speaker. So welcome to all of you. There are some wonderful handouts on the table. So I think most of you signed in and take us the handouts. And I also have a few copies of the slides there. We weren't sure everybody wanted one, but I asked all of you, so we have a few left there. I'd like to go ahead and start. And because our presentation today is talking about how we want to plan for our end of life and make decisions that are healthy and best for us, I found a devotion that's entitled Preparing for Our Later Years in Life, and I'd like to share it with you. So preparing for our later years in life is not merely a matter of logistics or health. It's a deeply spiritual practice of our own stewardship. As Christians, we view the aging process through a unique lens, one that acknowledges the reality of physical decline while simultaneously celebrating the inward renewal promised in the Scriptures. The stewardship of the self is that in our younger years, we often view our bodies as tools for production. In later life, we are invited to view them as temples in transition. Caring for ourselves through rest, medicine, community, and setting our affairs in order is an act of gratitude through the Creator who created us all and knits us together. It's not an act of fear, but an act of faithfulness. Anchored in hope is the next part of this, and it says that the world often views aging with a sense of loss, but for the believer, every passing year is a step closer to the threshold of home. Our preparation for the winter of life is underscored by the certainty of an eternal spring. We do not white-knuckle our independence. Instead, we learn the holy art of being dependent when needed, first on God, and then on the hands of those who love and care for us, and those He sent to care for us. By preparing wisely today, we free our future selves, to focus on the one thing necessary, resting in the presence of the Lord as we wait for the fulfillment of His promises. And here's a prayer that accompanied this, which I think is very appropriate. Heavenly Father, we believe that many times we are in your hands, from the first breath to our transitions into your presence. We know and thank you for the gift of life and for the promise of the life to come, where there is no pain, no decay, or no parting. Grant us the wisdom to prepare well for the years ahead. Give us the courage to make decisions that honor our bodies and provide peace for our loved ones. Help us to hold our independence loosely and your grace tightly. When our strength fails, let our hope flourish. Teach us to trust in your provision, knowing that you have carried us since our birth and will carry us through our gray hairs. We rest in the assurance of you, Jesus Christ, our Lord, who has gone to prepare a place for us. And we look forward with joy to the day that we will actually see you face to face. In your name we pray. Amen. So that's supposed to be a positive start today when we look at less years in front compared to those behind, but those are good years. I also on the table put a page of some scriptural references that I wanted you to take if you did with your handouts. So with that, today we have first Jim Miner, and then coming with him is Doug Schommer. They've had 2 presentations this afternoon, so Doug's finishing his part, and he'll be along shortly. Our topic today is planning for end-of-life decision-making. What should we be thinking about? I'll start with Jim. And Jim Miner, who I think many of you know, is a retired teacher from the Rochester school system, and currently he works in real estate. Doug Schommer was also in commercial finance And now he is working as community relations director for the Visiting Angel organization, which we have had come and speak to us, a Redeemer. Together, these gentlemen have really been doing a wonderful job of educating our community about what we should make decisions in regard to as we age, and sharing wonderful resources, many of which are there in your handouts today. So Doug just walked in, so he's here, and we're going to start with Jim Miner. Please help me give Jim a warm welcome.
I gotta say one thing before we begin. I have a former student from John Marshall in the audience today, and I gotta tell you the story about her. And you know what I'm gonna tell you, don't you? A long time ago, I must have been talking about search warrants in class, because it was business law class. She happened to ask a sheriff deputy one night, "Is this nightcap?" And she looked at the warrant, and it was not. And she said, "Then you can get out of the house," basically, right? So every once in a while you do something, and believe it or not, I do remember that. That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
But you remember something everything once in a while. So I don't want to scare you today, but guess what, folks? We're all not going to live forever. And you and I are not going to live forever, so it's preparation for things we need to care of while you're still alive. I used to say before you die, but that was kind of morbid. So while you're still alive, we're going to talk about things we got to talk about. I am really old. I had a birthday last week. Lady over here I sold the house to many years ago. I happened to be at Charlie's, and I gave him all those cupcakes on last Saturday. So I guess this will be the fourth day of my 88th year. So figure that out. That's a long time. So I've been around a while. Part of the classes that I give wherever I go, I represent Redeemer. Today I don't represent myself. I'm going to talk about generalities. I'm not going to talk about what you got to do or what I got to do or anything like that. I happen to have a real estate license, have since 1976. I've been a teacher since '62, started at Central. My mission during this class and all classes is to inform you, to help you think, and to better prepare you for decisions we all need to make, but we postpone till tomorrow, or I'll do that next week, or next month, or I'll do that next year, or whatever. So keep in mind when we go through this, if you have any questions or thoughts or comments, stop me and say, "What do you mean?" So yes, this is the second one this afternoon. Doug and I did one at Autumn Ridge. From the real estate side, if you sign a contract to list your property or buy property, I'm not going to tell you anything about the agent or work with or anything like that. This is not about real estate today, but I gotta put that up there because somebody asked me in a class one time, and oh Lord, I almost got in trouble. So my lived experience. Come on, there we go. Summer of 2023, my wife was mobility was going down, so I rented a one-bedroom assisted living unit at the Waters. We never moved in. It cost about $3,500 a month. Mobility was an issue with my wife. March 2024, my wife was admitted to St. Mary's. She had heart issues, I think. I can't remember for sure. She was admitted to rehab at Madonna Towers. For rehab, after about 2 weeks, there was no progress. So that was in mid-April. Need to find a safe place to go and live, which was not home. I said, "Oh, I got the Waters. I got an ace in the hole." So the Waters came out and evaluated. Now keep in mind, one-person assist is generally considered assisted living. Two-person assist is skilled nursing. Skilled nursing is in the neighborhood of about $16,000 to $20,000 a month. Assisted living is somewhere around $8,000 a month. That's a lot better than $16,000 a month, so you're always hoping for one-person assist. My wife happened to use a standee. That's something you stand on, and they put a couple paddles behind you. You can hold yourself up and go to the bathroom. So she was strong enough to do that, but she couldn't walk to the bathroom. So the Waters came out and evaluated and said, "Guess what? We don't allow mechanical devices." I said, "That's a mechanical device? Yeah, it's got wheels on and we don't use it. Therefore, not accepted." So, give me my money back. Well, of course, they didn't do that. I didn't ask for it either. So then what do you do? Well, she was too complex, so enter the ombudsman. If you've never heard about the ombudsman from the state of Minnesota, you need to get that. No, you need to understand those people. Called the ombudsman. They came in and said, the lady said, "Has your wife been have memory issues?" I said, "Yeah, she's been diagnosed with dementia, and then she qualifies for memory care." Memory care is about the same cost as assisted living, plus a little bit. So that was about $9,000 a month, which is better than $16,000 a month. So we did some research into the bottom line. She stayed at Madonna Towers, a wonderful care, great facility, and all those kind of things. So anyway, that was, we did that. Mobility became more of an issue. We placed her in hospice in the May of 2024. Saturday, June 1st, when I left, I said, called my kids and says, we got to go in another place on Monday. This is not working. She couldn't hold herself up anymore. So I expected a call from Madonna Towers that night. Instead, I got a call from the emergency room at about 3:40 in the morning saying, we have your wife. I never asked how she got there, because keep in mind, if you're in hospice, you're not supposed to go back to the hospital. A little story about that too. So at about 11:30 the next morning, she passed away. Story at the hospital was really kind of interesting. It was kind of funny, and we kind of chuckled about it. They wanted to get her out of St. Mary's emergency room as fast as they could, so the ambulance would bring people in. They said, we got to get somebody back to Madonna Towers. Can you take them? No, we don't have time. We're bringing people in. We're overbooked, and we don't have time. So after about 10 o'clock, they finally decided, well, she's diminishing. We'll leave her there. When she passed away, the hospice nurse says, I think I need to have a doctor sign off. She said, I'll go to see the doctor. The doctor walked in and said, I don't know what to do. We've never had this happen before. Now, wait, we know that they have people die at the emergency room. I think the situation was, who's in charge, hospice, or are we in charge? And they couldn't determine that. They finally said, we'll figure it out, don't worry. But we had a little chuckle over that, because that was certainly a situation that we hadn't planned on. So 8 weeks later, my oldest daughter was diagnosed with glioblastoma and died 6 months later. So we had 2 months of kind of recovery, and then it was back to going to the hospital and all those things again. As you get older, the word that everybody talks about is downsizing. We got to downsize. What does that really mean? That means get rid of all the junk you got, because your kids don't want it. If you ask your kids, would you like this Bavarian china? They say, what's Bavarian china, and why would I use it? And then you say, well, what about the silver, the sterling silver set? And they said, are you crazy? I use plastic. I'm not going to use sterling silver. And it's probably tarnished, and you can't use it anyway, and it's a mess. So with the Bavarian china, use it for target practice, and with the other stuff, throw it away or take it to Savers or somebody. If you get $10 for it, do it, because it's not worth very much. So yesterday, ask your kids, today you pack up the stuff that you don't want, and tomorrow you just give it away. And you don't turn around and you don't look back and you say, oh my gosh, this is so valuable. It was valuable when you bought it. You liked it, get rid of it. 2 stories. My wife loved precious moments. We have probably 250 in a china closet, that I look at every day, and it's beautiful. I love precious moments. We got down in the basement in that 2 months we had in between, and here's a box, and guess what's in the box? 4 and 5s of each one of the precious moments, because we thought they're going to be worth so much in 5 years that we'll buy them today for 10 and sell them for 30. Well, guess what? We bought them for 30, and they're probably worth a dime or maybe $1 today if we get it. Second one, and I'm guilty too, don't get me wrong. Second one, village pieces, Dickens village pieces, loved them. Put them all up at Christmas time. It would take me 2 weeks to put them up and 4 weeks to take them down. We have urban sprawl. We don't just have the village, we have the city. And what are they worth today? Nothing. You take them to Savers and maybe they'll get $1 for them. So keep that in mind. So here's the risk of aging without a plan, without preparation. First of all, safety falls. Who will pick you up? I got to tell you a story about a colleague of mine, and Bob and Karen know this gentleman well. His wife was a spitting image of health about 3 years ago. She came home one day after her walk of 3 or 4 miles and said, I can hardly breathe. Amyloidosis was diagnosed. Amyloidosis is very serious. It attacks various parts of your body, various organs, and there's no cure. One of the gentlemen that I know, his wife got it and it attacked her brain. She was dead in 6 weeks. You may know Miami Bear, the guy in the paper that gives the bears and everything to all the kids. He had an attack to his kidney, and I think he has a new kidney. I think it was his kidney transplant. Anyway, so the decision was that the kids made her say, no, we're going to pull out all the stuff. So she's still alive to this day. The pills she takes are $800 each, and she takes 4 a day. Fortunately, she's on a study, and the study pays for the pills, but she's still alive. It was about a year and a half ago, maybe longer, that she tripped over her husband's walker and broke her neck. While she was in rehab at Chatfield, he was in rehab at the homestead because he had a heart issue. So they go both back home, but she's pretty good and he's not so good, so she becomes his caregiver. The other day, she fell down the stair steps and hit her head, back of her head, on a crock. I would assume like a red wing crock or something. Cracked the crock, and now she has a brain injury. He needs 24-hour care because he cannot be home alone and falls frequently. Well, that's why we talk about falls. He thinks his neighbors are going to pick him up, and they kind of get tired of coming over every other day and picking him up on the floor. The bottom line is, where do you go? She now has to go to rehab someplace. He wants to be in assisted living in the same facility. Where's that going to happen? Don't know. I was over there 2 weeks before she fell and said, you know, you really got to think about getting a plan together. You know, just get on a list someplace. You don't have to go. You're going to come back home and you're going to be good for the rest of your life, but you maybe need a little, you know, something. Bottom line is, you know, you always have to have hope. We always give my wife hope. You're going back home. We always give my daughter hope. You're going back home. You're going to get well. We knew that wasn't going to happen. So you got to give them hope. Anyway, the dignity, the kind of things, you know, do you have to have somebody help you go to the bathroom, take a shower, all those kind of things. Let me assure you folks, when you get old, there's no dignity in your life. There's no, you know, you're visible to the world. Mobility declines, the cognitive changes, even though you and I both think that we are just as good as we were 50 years ago, we're not. We don't remember as good as we used to. We don't think quite as good as we used to, just as part of life. Health emergencies, do you have health directives? What are your desires? Who will direct and make those decisions for you if you can't make them? And do we have a plan in place to do that? So we'll talk about that. What changes? We get cranky. The older we get, the crankier we get. Just talk to nurses that take care of people in a nursing home. People get very, very, very cranky. The laws changed. Have you changed with the laws? Have you changed? Do you know what the changes are? IRS rules change about gifting and all these kind of things. Do you know what those are? Your assets change. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. But they're not the same as they were 10 years ago. Your house may have more value, may have less value. If you have other kinds of investments, are they going up or going down? Have you changed your estate plan? Have your relationships changed? Relationship with your children. Your children loved you when you were 45. They may not love you so much when you're 85 because maybe you've alienated them a little bit, or vice versa. Your ability to act changes. You know, we don't make those decisions as fast as we used to. I remember names really good about 6 hours later. You know, I can't think, who is that person now? I don't know. Let's talk about preparation for hell. What about tomorrow? Death is inevitable. You know, are you prepared for the inevitable? Or preparation for the inevitable? We'll bring up topics and think about this as we go through here. So, what should we talk about early in life? Death. Who likes to talk about death when you're 75 plus? Nobody likes to talk about when you're older. And let me assure you, what did we ask my daughter when she was diagnosed with glioblastoma? Do you talk about dying at that point? Do you talk about funerals? Do you talk about where do you want to go? Not a sound. Because it's inevitable at that point. So when should you talk about it? Soon after you get married. I once heard that the president, the first thing that happens when a new president is elected is first thing to do is plan their funeral. Because it could happen at any moment, as we now know. You know, assassins are out there all the time. I'm not so sure that a family should do the same thing. Husband, wife get married, hey, let's talk about our funeral. You know, well, that's a long way off. Well, yeah, but we can have fun with it now. But you can't have fun with it when you're 75, folks. Can't do it. Maybe you talk before you're married. That's even more important. You and I have been around long enough to know that once in a while, mom and dad had a family plot. They had 4 kids, and so there's a place for mom, dad, and the 4 kids. Now the 4 kids get married. Do they want to go back in the mom and dad's plot? Or are they going to have a new plot over here with the new wife? Or maybe, just maybe, they get divorced from the new wife. Now where do they go? Do they go back with mom and dad, or they have new, it's all those kind of things that you got to talk about sometime along the way. What goes in the conversation? Well, all of these things should go in. Do you have a will? My guess is most of you do. My wife and I did a will right after the kids were born. Why did we make a will then? It was going to take care of the kids if we die in a common accident. How long did we have that will? About 35 years. We didn't change it after they got to be 18. We never did it. We did a will right before my wife passed away. They turned out, it was rather interesting. My wife was sleeping, he said, Gene, sign right here. Just signed there and it was good. You know, both my kids were there with it, so it's not a big deal. Do I think she knew what she was signing? I have no clue. No clue, but she signed it, and so we got a new will. Now, should I look at that will after my daughter passed away? Yeah, probably. There's in there, I know what's in there, but do I want to treat my grandkids the same today as I did 2 years ago? Not sure. Anyway, funeral, memorial service, celebration of life. By the way, what's the difference between a funeral and a memorial service and a celebration of life? Funerals are usually at churches. Memorial services are usually at funeral homes, and celebration of life are usually at bars and taverns. So if you see somebody's having a celebration of life, it probably isn't at either a church or a funeral home. It might be at the Elks or the Eagles or the American Legion or whatever. Obituaries, have you written one yet? One of my former students, God, I bless my former students, you know. She saw me right after her dad passed away during COVID, and she said to me, have you written your obituary yet? And I said, no, go home and do it. So I did, you know, listen to my students. And it's kind of interesting because I put down, you know, when I was born and where I was born and all this good stuff, and it was really kind of an outline. I did one for my wife. Why did I do that? Because I'm not sure my kids know where I was born. You know, they didn't know what I did, you know, and all that stuff when I was early age. And I kind of wanted that in the obituary. If I don't do it, somebody else will do it, and they will put in what they want, and it may not have anything to do with what you did. So think about that. Oh goodness, what's the next? My collection not working. Lots of details or little details. And by the way, if you want it published in the paper, it goes by the column inch. And my wife's wasn't very long, but I think it was $780. I think. Don't quote me on that, but it wasn't very long. The whole funeral, by the way, was I think $12,250, and $2,000 of that or more was the food after the service. So yes, Doug. Doug, you can't ask any questions. You heard this before.
I just want to emphasize something on the obituary. I lost a son-in-law at 45 years old, and they had not planned for this. They wrote no obituary. My daughter was in no position to write it. His parents didn't. So it fell to me. I didn't know him that many years. How do you write the obituary? So that's so important.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. You know, you should write at least an outline or do something in there. Should not wait until after you're dead because you can't write it after you're dead, you know, so obviously that goes without saying. At least you put it on outline. So let's talk about some other deals of that. Where you're going to be buried, we talked a little bit about this. Family plot, which family, one of your new moms and dads, you know, better figure this out early because you don't want to, you see, if you don't figure it out, then all of a sudden if you got three kids, you know, there's going to be an argument. It's going to be 2 against 1. You've got 5, it's going to be 3 against 2, or maybe 4 against 1. You don't want to have those arguments. You're not going to be there, but God, it's the worst thing in the world to have an argument about the funeral home, what's going to happen. Funeral director will tell you there are many different opinions at funeral homes when they're trying to figure out the funeral 4 days from now. And that's not the place that would happen. Do you want a casket? Do you want it open or closed? Do you want an urn? Do you want to be... One of my friends was burned or buried. Well, that's, you know, but it really is that way. If the service, which funeral home? Who's going to conduct the service? Who's going to walk with the family and how are you going to enter? Now, this is kind of interesting. Went to a funeral the other, generally speaking, what have you and I always seen? What's been the usual and customary practice at a funeral? Everybody stands up, the family comes in, and what does everybody do? You look at the family, are they crying? Are they sad? Are they happy? How do they look? You know, everybody's thinking that in their mind. Now, you may not say it out loud, but that's what you're thinking. So I went to a funeral later, and everybody sat down, they walked in the front. Nobody's, they just walked in and sat down. I thought, this is really the kind of a good way of doing it. Walking in and walking out, you don't have to do that, So think of how you want to just walk in. Oh, the other thing, well, my wife, they came up 10 minutes before and they said, who's going to walk in with you? I had no clue. I never thought about that. Same thing happened with my daughters like 6 months later. They said to my son-in-law, who's going to walk with you? I don't know. And he and I talked about that. Do you want to have your mom and dad, your brothers? He said, I don't know. Well, that's not the time to decide that. 10 minutes before you're walking in, who's going to go in? So I've even asked, my wife had 2 sisters. They did not have a place for them, say, in the front, but they didn't walk in. And I said both of them afterwards, did you feel shunned? No, we kind of liked it. We didn't have to walk in with you. We didn't. That wasn't our place. Well, it depends upon, some people can have 75 people in their family and come and have 7, so I went with the 7, not the 70. What kind of music is going to be played? Who's going to be the speakers? Are there going to be some family going to give some notes all about prayers and scriptures, and who's going to give the message or sermon, if any, and all those things should be all determined. I have my music. Guess what it's going to be? Marches. People are going to say, what the heck is this? They're coming in with Stars and Stripes Forever? And Lee Greenwood is going to sing God Bless America, or God Bless the USA. And who was that gal that used to sing on TV every afternoon at 4:30? Kate Smith. Remember Kate Smith is going to sing God Bless America. And so, that's my songs. And people are going to say, you're weird. And that's fine. She knows that from a long time. So do you, and so does Bob and Karen. After the reception, what kind of reception afterwards? Is cost a factor? My wife never wanted to be short of anything, so they said, how many think are going to be out of service? And I said, well, maybe 80 or 90. They said 80 is a good number, and I thought, well, maybe there'll be some more. And so I planned for 125. There was 80. So I said to the people as we're walking out, I said, talk to all those homeless people back there behind Cub Foods and invite them in. So we can have some. They never did, but I kind of wanted to. What you're going to serve? I wanted Coke and corn chips, but I think I'll change that from now. I don't like Coke or corn chips anymore. What happens to the food that's left over? What about the flowers? This is another big one. After the service, say, what do you want to do with flowers? Good God, there's 24 of them. I don't know what to do with the flowers. What do you want to do with them? Well, people paid lots of money for the flowers. You take them home and where do you put 25 flowers in a house? So I said, well, well, we take them to nursing homes. I don't know if they ever got to nursing homes. I don't have a clue. So, but something else you got to think about. You detail these things. Who gets them? Who takes them? And you don't care because you're dad. But somebody's going to have to figure this out. Cards and memorials. Who's going to write them? Are they going to be generic? Just say thanks, and especially the memorials. You never get a card if you just give them a card, but you give them $20 and you always get a card. By the way, what is the normal memorial that people are giving today? About $20. Few give 50, some give 100, but usually I would say the usual memorial is $20.
We used to give 5.
Whoever writes these, are you going to write specific words and say thank you, Mary and Helen, for the $20 gift? We give the $20 gift to the Cancer Society. Keep in mind, memorials can be given to anybody. If you got 2 kids, they get $400. I'll take 2, you take 2, and let's have fun. Or do you want to make sure that the memorials are given to whoever you want to give them to? Don't let your family figure this out afterwards. This is not time for the family to figure out because somebody's going to be upset. Keep in mind, if there's 2, maybe not, but 3 there will be. I did something rather unusual, and I think Bob and Karen got one of these. After my wife and daughter passed away, I sat down one night to keep in mind I don't write, I do the computer stuff, and so I sent individual letters, and Bob and Karen, that you might be surprised that you're not individual, but they said most of the same thing in each one. But I wanted people to know that their card or the memorial or the gift that they gave them, the flowers, made a difference, and so I sent a letter to everybody, and several people said, we've never seen that before, and I said, well, I'm different, My kids wrote one after the funeral, thank you very much, and sent them out 2 days later. I did one about 6 months later. Do you have an advance directive on file with somebody? The hospital, medical claim, mail, your family, your attorney, do you have an advance directive that says, I've told people, I'm serious about this, if I have a heart attack right now, go have coffee and come back in an hour. I'll be okay. because I don't want anybody to perform life-saving measures on me at this point. You know, I don't want to come back. So keep that in mind. However, some people want to, you know, do a full court press. No, I don't. Sorry. Anyway, you have that advanced directive. What about being a donor? Do you want to be a donor? Do you have a healthcare proxy? By the way, I don't know what that is, but it's in there. Who knows what you want to be? Do you want to be a donor? What is the process of being a donor? It's just not putting it on the back of your license. That gives somebody the idea that you want to be a donor. There's much more to it than that. How about a post, P-O-L-S-T? Do you know what that is?
Yep.
Anybody here know what a post is?
Provider.
Outstanding. Well, about 4 years ago, I went to my primary care doctor and I said, we got to fill this out. It's a post. And I said, what's that? She said, just fill it out, you know, and what's your name, what's your address? And she said, I'll fill it out for you. That's good. So here's what it is. Providers order for life-sustaining treatment, P-O-L-S-T. It's portability. The orders are meant to be portable and followed across different care settings, hospitals. Purpose, individuals who want to specify medical treatment preference in the event of a medical emergency. So it's kind of like a healthcare directive. The scope is the form can include decisions on various treatments from aggressive life support to comfort-focused care. Well, that's kind of like, you know, kind of like a healthcare directive. It's intended for adults with serious life-limiting medical conditions. Maybe that's why 4 years ago they gave it to me, because they thought I had a serious life-threatening condition. I'm not sure. Legal status is a physician's order, not a legal document, like a living will, voluntary, should not be confused with advanced directive, though it supports the advanced care planning process. Sounds like an attorney wrote that. So you got a copy of it so you know what it is. Moving early in life, review the will when your kids were gone, discuss with an attorney estate planning. Don't do it on your own. You know, you can go online and make a will out, but we're not sure that that's legal, so go to an attorney and make sure it's legal. Transfer on death, TOD. Transfer on death is fairly new in Minnesota. It's only been around for 4 or 5 years, so it might be another tool in your toolbox for planning your estate. Do you need a trust? Do you want a trust? An attorney told me, he said, 20 years ago I made a non-revocable trust. He said, worst thing I ever did. He said, and I had 2 other attorneys giving me the best advice I could 20 years ago when my wife passed away. He said, it's absolutely the wrong thing today. So what you do 20 years ago might not be the best thing today, so you got to review it. Estate taxes. Can you mitigate taxes? Maybe you can. I don't know. Figure that out. Insurance, life insurance. Are your beneficiaries up to date? You can't believe the number of people that get divorced and still leave their previous wife as a beneficiary. So he dies, I guess who gets the money? The ex-wife. She's happy as a clam. You know? Health, disability, auto, homeowners insurance, all these things, you gotta figure all these things out. When somebody passes away, you gotta tell all these people they're not on my insurance anymore. You know, my wife passed away, went to the auto insurance people, said take her off. You know, okay, we'll take her off, but so you gotta think about all those things. Power of attorney, who should you select as your power of attorney? A family, a third party, or a neighbor? There's advantages and disadvantages to all of them. By the way, when does the power of attorney end? When you die. My power of attorney ends the last breath I take. The power of attorney is gone. Digital stuff, passwords, computer access, cell phone access, safety deposit boxes, banks, credit unions, others. I got to tell this very quick story. We got time?
I think so.
Good. You will have time because you can't leave till I'm done. And then you got done. Many years ago, a lady that I helped had a condo at the top of the Holiday Inn. To make a long story short, 2 people that we didn't know who they were or what they did, but I'm sorry, I'll get back over here. But she was a hoarder. So they had all kinds of stuff in their place. She had a distant niece that lived in Rochester. He didn't have anybody that lived up here. I'll get back here again. I'm sorry. God, I like to walk around once in a while. Anyway, make a long story short, she died first, and then he died 3 months later, and her niece said, we're not doing anything. It's your apartment, figure it out. Well, you can't just go into somebody's apartment after they die and just throw everything away. So I said to the attorney, we got to figure this out. And he said, well, Maybe they don't have any money. So well, we got to get this stuff cleaned out. Make a long story short, I was a personal representative for the estate. We found $1.8 million. We had to drill out the safety deposit box for $500,000 worth of double E bonds. It was a stack about that high. So getting down to safety deposit boxes, if you forget to lose the key, but you know there is one, it only costs a couple $100 to drill it out. It takes about 4 minutes. Zoom, and then you open the box and you take out what's in there. But 1.8 million, that was about 10 years ago, so it'll probably be worth 3 times that today. It was so exciting. Opening the envelopes, I said to the attorney, I think I found it. It begins 853, comma, 853,000 is the first letter. Then we found a couple more 100,000 that day in.
So if the kids didn't want anything to do with it, did they get the
They
money?
didn't have any children. It was
Oh.
a distant niece, her niece.
And-
But she died first, so, and there are no wills
Oh,
we could
my
find.
word. Wow.
His three distant nieces and nephews lived in Mississippi and Alabama. 2 things were so unusual. Number 1, they never asked how much money is it. And number 2, after they found out there was a lot of money, when are you going to give it to us? And so
Wow.
that was one lady did call me and say, won't that affect my food stamp program? And I said, well, you probably, your $600,000 will probably affect your food stamp program. So that may not work. We'll go to Plan B. Very good. So anyway, that's that story about the lock boxes. So yeah, that's kind of important. How equal can you be with your children? Have you been equal so far? Does one child feel they've been treated not as fair as the other ones? If you got 3, it's going to be that way, folks. Can't, this is part of the deal. Fair is always in the eyes of the beholder. What happens if one or more of your children are alienated? You don't have as good a relationship with them as the others? Do you give them all the same? Might you want to discuss that with somebody, with your children, or with somebody else, and how you're going to deal with this? Keep in mind, after you're gone, you don't care, but you kind of want the family to stay together, I think. Charitable giving, what about that? Personal belongings, pet care after you're gone. Who's taking care of your pets? They might live another 10 years, and you want them to live, so who's going to take care of them? Many people will give money for their pet care after they're dead. Let's talk about housing. This is going to be really fast. Are you going to stay at home where you are now? If I live at home, my spouse or partner will take care of me. Well, that may not have. I told you about the story about my colleague. My kids will take care of me. No, your kids are not going to take care of you. That's not going to happen. My neighbors will take care of me. No, your neighbors are not going to take care of you. I can hire people to take care of me. Visiting angels are here. They can help a little bit, but probably 24-hour care, nah. Even Doug is cheap, but he's not that cheap. Today, more than 16 million people over the age 65 live alone, and I'm one of those people. And Saturdays and Sundays are not good because there's not much to do on Saturdays or Sundays. I'm gone in the morning, 7:30, 8 o'clock almost every day, doing something. I get home sometime around 5, 6 at night. That is not so bad, but Saturdays, Sundays are not easy. Most of us do not have a clue of what will happen if you can no longer live alone or at home. Keep in mind, I thought I had a plan for my wife. I'm going to live there forever, but I will have to move someplace. My guess is 80% of people in this room will not die at home. You will go someplace from your home to someplace else. It'll be an assisted living, memory care, nursing home, someplace else. You will not be living at home. I always say it's really great to go out at 2:30 in the morning after a nice steak at Ruth Chris Steakhouse the night before with your friends. That happens with so few people. Don't plan on it. Relocating, but where? Single family, senior complex, independent living, assisted living, rehab, or skilled nursing, memory care, or else. Keep in mind, folks, so far, as of 3:42 this afternoon, I don't think we allow people to die on the street in Minnesota. Tomorrow, not so sure. We're running out of money. What do? Money talks, that's what it's all about. Keep in mind, we only have 2 continuing care retirement communities in Rochester, Madonna Towers and the Charter House. All others are can't pay, you can't stay. And if you're too complex, you need to relocate someplace else. Keep in mind, that's true. You can't stay all these other places. They are assisted living, not skilled nursing. And if you don't, and they will say, I'm sorry, you can't say because you can't pay, or you're too complex. Nobody wants to talk about that. That's one of the questions. Say I didn't ask the right question at the Waters. I should have asked, if you have a mechanical device, can my wife be in assisted living? I never thought of asking that. I didn't know what a mechanical device was. I should have asked, is there any reason why my wife cannot stay at assisted living one-person transfer? I don't know what they would have told me, but I know the answer now. By the way, I don't blame Waters at all. This has nothing to do with, they're a great place in the world. I don't blame them. It was the rules that I didn't ask the right questions. Age is inevitable, death is inevitable, chaos is inevitable if you don't plan correctly. Period. Do not defer planning for the inevitable. Start planning not for the last event, last wishes, healthcare, estate, power of attorney, housing. Doug Schumer's next. Questions or comments or thoughts, or don't believe everything I tell you, challenge me. Oh, I gotta get back here again. God, I'm sorry. Barb, I don't want to leave you. I'm here. Question or comment?
What you're saying is true, and I mean, you put humor on it, the spin, but all of what you said is true, and I think, we don't think we're going to die today. We don't worry about that, but yet, we just met with our kids this Christmas and had a real heart-to-heart talk about this. And if you don't talk to your kids about it, they don't know what you think or what you want. So you're absolutely right. People even in their 30s and 40s need to be thinking about this. What do you want to happen?
Right.
There are no guarantees.
That's right.
Yeah, so.
And don't defer till next week or next month or next year. Do it tomorrow. Do it tomorrow. Sit down and do this. And it's not fun. And I told this story at Autumn Ridge. When my daughter was diagnosed with glioblastoma, you don't ask her, what do you want to do with your funeral? How do you want to die? You don't do that then. The only thing we knew was when my wife passed away, the funeral director said, would you like to see the reception area? Now, my kids had never been to Mackins. And they said, yes, you do. And they both, when they walked in there, they said, oh, this is where we want to go. So that's the only thing we knew about my daughter. After that, you don't talk about it.
Well, and we made it clear, we have 3 sons, and we did take their feelings into consideration, but we wanted the 3 of them to know what we want.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to hear it all together.
Yeah.
So there was, nobody thinking they were left out. This is what we want.
Yeah, right.
And we want you to honor it.
Right, yes, right.
So, yeah.
Anybody else with a comment or concern or thought? I really appreciate, those comments, and we all got to think about this, and nobody wants to think about it. It's not fun. It's not fun to sit down and plan this. And like somebody mentioned before, if you have not a lot of money, and people don't have a lot of money, you can pre-plan your funeral and pay for your funeral, because if the state gives you a funeral, I think it's a box and you don't know where you're going to be buried. They have certain places. Yes, go ahead.
It is definitely good to start planning early where you will be living when you can't handle doing it at home. We just went through this. It's a 2-year waiting list to get in a lot of places, so you can't wait until you have an emergency and can't live at home.
No, if you wait when you're in the hospital, they said we're going to dismiss you tomorrow. Where are you going to go? You may go to some place you're not very happy with. And I don't want to mention any place, but Ostrander, Cannon Falls, Owatonna, St. Charles, Chatfield, they have openings. But no, you want to be in Rochester. And everybody says, well, my friends will come visit me if I'm in Rochester. Like hell they will. They ain't going to come and visit you. That's reality. And then they said, well, my kids, I'm going to move near my kids. Your kids don't want you near them. They will visit you more when you're a distance away. Go ahead. Oh, I thought he had a comment. Somebody else have a comment? Very good, Doug. Thank you very much, and I'm going to stick around, so I'll be here a long time.
This is Doug Schaumer, who is currently the Communications and Public Relations Director for Visiting Angels.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I think I've visited with some of you before this, and some of what you hear today might be repeat, some of it will hopefully be new. But yeah, like I said, I'm Doug Schomer. I'm the Community Outreach Director with Visiting Angels here in Rochester. Visiting Angels is a franchised organization all over the world, not just in the U.S., but all over the world. We have the office here in Rochester for southeastern Minnesota. It's owned by Joe and Kong Settlemyer. They bought the office about 15 years ago. I went to work for them about 11 years ago. And we want to talk a little bit about the fact that what you can do in some of these instances when you have to make some of these decisions and not waiting until the very end. Most of us, and I say this because of the folks that we deal with, when we talk to the folks we deal with, most all of them would prefer to stay in their home rather than go to a facility. So is that possible? You bet it's possible. We can make that happen for you. Depending on what you need for services, we can do a lot of that in the house. Now, is the home that you're in today with the one you want to stay in? Is it set up for you to be able to live there as you age? My wife and I, 5 years ago, sold our place. We had a split level 5-bedroom house on a half acre. Didn't need that anymore. The 5 girls are all on their own, married and got their own families. We loved the place, we loved the land, but it was just getting harder to take care of. So we looked at each other and said, do we want to go into a senior facility or what do we want to do? It? We ended up selling that and we bought a place over in Stewartville all on one level. Now, before that we had kind of wrestled with, well, we could bring the laundry room upstairs and put it in one of the bathrooms. We could redo the one bathroom and get a walk-in shower because we just had a tub and shower in both bathrooms. You know, what were you going to do? So we, like I said, we ended up selling it, buying a place that was already more handicap accessible. When we bought this, it was a brand new place, so we were able to design some things. We've got one regular bathroom and it's got a tub in it because my wife likes a tub. And in the second bathroom we put a walk-in shower instead of a tub and shower. So there's zero entry. You don't have to step over something to get into it. Put grab bars in. And if you're going to put grab bars in, don't put those suction grab bars in. They're the worst thing in the world. I mean, you grab a hold of one of those when it's wet and it can slide and it can come off. So if you're going to have grab bars put in, have somebody come out and put actual grab bars in for you. Another thing that you might want to think about if you're doing that is put a high-rise stool in the bathroom. So many of the houses, like I was, not too long ago, I was visiting my grandson over in Dover, and they're in an older house. And I had to go in and use the restroom. Holy cow, my knees were in my chin, or my chin was in my knees. It was so low on the floor. And I was sitting there going, how am I going to get up off of this? So, but you can get these higher stools put in your bathroom, and we did that when we got this place. So those are all kinds of things that you need to think about. And you were talking earlier about, visiting with your kids about it. These are things you need to visit with your children about too. Is what your desires are, what you would like to do, and if you want to stay in your house, how is that possible? Now, there's 2 organizations in town, Visiting Angels and Home Instead, that are pretty much exactly the same. I think we're better, but they're a great organization too. And when I say that, it's because we do complete background checks and fingerprinting on all of our caregivers. We do a lot of training. We just don't hire anybody off the street. These aren't volunteers, they're paid individuals. So when they're coming into your house, we know that we can trust them in your home. You know that you can trust them in your home. And that can be so important because we deal with a lot of folks with dementia and Alzheimer's. And many times we're in the house with that person and there's no other family member there. And they can't always speak for themselves. So you want to make sure that what you've got is people that are very trustworthy, very reliable, very honest. We try to match caregivers with families. Some gentlemen would prefer to have a man than a woman. Most women prefer to have a woman caregiver. Out of the roughly 100 caregivers we have out of our office, probably almost 85 of them are females. A lot of the caregivers that we have are retired nurses. We get a lot of retired male people that come to work for us as a part-time job. A big share of our caregivers are part-time, probably 80% of them work part-time, and it's a great part-time job. We do have a lot of nursing students in the summertime when they're on leave from school, on vacation from school. They'll come work for us, and they'll come back summer after summer while they're going to nursing school. So we really choose carefully who we hire. We don't, just because you can come in and fog up a mirror doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get a job with us. We really do a background check and make sure that we're bringing the right people in. You have to have compassion for this. You have to, you have to be somebody that wants to help. And why would you do this rather than have family members? I don't know about you guys, but I really don't want one of my 5 daughters, even though 3 of my girls are in healthcare. I don't want any of the 5 of them having to dress me, bathe me, toilet me. Don't want to do that. I would rather have somebody come in that's a professional that can do that, and I can take that time with my kids to build memories, not having them help me with these kinds of things. So, something you should talk to your kids about, and then if you and your children think that, hey, I'd like to find out more about this, you give us a call. We come out, our care coordinator, Derek, would come out to the house and sit down with you and visit, talk to you about the services that are available, find out what are you looking for. Are you looking for light housekeeping? Are you looking for somebody that can be there in the morning to help you get out of bed and get washed and dressed? Somebody to do meal prep? Somebody to come in the evenings and help you get ready for bed and get you to bed? Do you live alone, so you need somebody, and there's overnight hours. You shouldn't be home alone maybe overnight while you're sleeping in case something happens. All of those things are things that we can discuss and talk about, and we will do anywhere from as little as 4 to 24 hours a day. So depending on what your needs are, our base rate is $45 an hour, which maybe sounds like a lot of money, but if you take that and consider what it costs you to go in an assisted living or a nursing home, we're way less money than what that is. And yeah, you have some flexibility with us. I mean, we've had a lot of people that have come with us when they've only needed 4 hours a week, and then they've stayed with us, and as they age, needs become more and more, so then all of a sudden we're doing 8 hours, we're doing 10 hours, we're doing 24/7, just depending on what you need. So I'm going to open this up for a little bit of discussion and questions rather than just me talking.
I'll take it around for Doug and he can stay there. And I do want to mention 2 things. Number 1, when you're giving a sympathy card, take a return address and put it on the other side of that card so people know where to send that to. If you put it in the registration, when you go to the places, they can't read your handwriting, but they'll be able to read that return label. Second thing about a riser or a high-rise toilet, I have a high-rise toilet and I put another 3.5 inches on top. Best thing in the world. You can get them at Hunt Drug for about $45. Regular lid goes on top, they flip up and down. It's the greatest thing in the world. So, what do you have questions about, Doug?
Any questions about visiting angels?
Doug, I have a question.
Okay.
My wife needs nursing care. She needs a nurse to administer drugs and things like that. Do you do that?
We do not provide nursing care in the house other than we do provide drug setup. So we will come out, set up the drugs, and then put them in one of those containers so that you know when to take them. And we can come out and set them up on a weekly basis or however often you need it. We do have registered nurses that work for us, and they follow up with appointments out in the community, with visits to the homes to make sure everything's going okay. But our licensing is not to provide home nursing.
Question.
Any other questions?
Anybody else? Goodness, we gotta have some questions. If we plan an hour, you still got 2 minutes, so we gotta fill the 2 minutes.
We stay till 4:30.
Oh, you stay till 4:30? Oh, we,
So
oh,
if we need it.
yeah, all kinds of time.
Kathy, don't tell them that.
You want us to shut?
I always tell people I'm programmed for 55 minutes when they're at John Marshall, so you gotta be here at least 55 minutes.
I want to just add one thing to what Doug said. I think it's really important to know about the the agencies, visiting angels in point here. But we've also learned that they're not, quotes, just volunteers. A lot of them come from a medical background, and I think that can make a big difference when people are choosing some of the resources they want to come to their home.
Yeah, and keep in mind, none of our caregivers are volunteers. This is all paid positions, paid and trained. Yes, ma'am.
So Doug, do you do also respite?
Yes, we do
For people
respite.
who want to just get away for a weekend?
Yes, we do respite. Matter of fact, we have some clients that, just so the spouse can maybe get out and go have coffee or get their hair done, or grocery shopping, they'll just use us to come in at that time. We also have some clients that don't drive at all, so if they got a clinic appointment, we'll pick them up, take them to their appointment, stay with them until the appointment's done, then go back home. Something else a lot of people don't realize that we do is we do a lot with folks that come in from out of town. So if you have to come in from out of town and you're here for an appointment and you're staying at a hotel, we will come and be at the hotel with you. We will take you to that appointment. If there's like a day surgery, we'll go with them and stay with them for the surgery, go back to the hotel afterwards. So we do those kinds of things too.
Doug, are you just Rochester, or you're southeast Minnesota?
Southeast Minnesota, but we go, right now we've got about 100 caregivers. So we go over to Albert Lee, we go to Zumbrota, go down to close to the Iowa border, and over to like Lewiston. I can't service the whole area yet because we just don't have enough caregivers. And if we promise you a caregiver is going to be there, somebody's going to be there.
So if you do the 24-hour a day,
Yes.
are you a flat 45 for every hour, or is it less if they're staying overnight?
No, it's not less if they're staying overnight. It's pretty much flat $45.
Flat 45.
Now, we do have a break on couple care. So if you and your husband both need care, it's not $90 an hour. We give you a break on couple care.
Okay.
And we do not accept Medicare or insurance. We accept long-term care insurance, but otherwise it's self-pay. But then so is if you're going into a nursing home. Yes, you had a question?
I had one, you answered it.
Private pay.
Yeah, private pay.
Yeah, everything's private pay. Oh my goodness. My former